Hi, I'm Kim Bourgeois Landry and I am the Wonky Quilter. Welcome aboard, everyone. Today, we're talking about being gifted. I have received so many nice things over this last week. My stars must all be aligned in a really positive way. I think I want to start, though, by first, I'm making myself a little cup of tea. I hope some of you will join me. It is a chilly day here in Southwest Louisiana. It was in the 40s yesterday morning. I know a lot of you, my cousins up the East Coast, must be like, well, that's a nice spring day in the 40s, but here in March, that's cold, okay? Look, boys, girls, that's chilly. And I went on a green fabric buying mission in New Orleans on Friday and did not pack right. I had a little bit of a long sleeve kind of tunic, very light weight shirt on with a little cami under it. And by the time I left my daughter's house in Houma, an hour away from New Orleans, the temperature was dropping. Well, by like 11 o'clock, we're at Goodwill looking for jackets and sweaters, and I bought this. Just a little something to put around my neck, and I could whip it up over my head just to keep my head warm, because the temperature just dropped like crazy, and it was rainy and wet. But listen, I was there to meet with Dr. Elizabeth Townsend Guard, who has a research project, I always say that wrong, on copyright at Tulane University with her law students. And what she's using as an example is quilting and quilting squares and quilting designers and how are they protecting their art and whatnot. Anyway, she interviewed me. She was kind enough to interview me as just a regular, everyday hobbyist quilter who had a feeling, I guess, about reusing thrown away fabrics or, secondhand fabrics. And so we planned a field trip, and a couple of her girlfriends, who are now my girlfriends, very nice ladies, I guess there were 4 of us, and 5 with Elizabeth, and her teen came with us, that was a delight too, who she calls the kid. And the kid's name is Sid. So we had a really nice time. But man, we were dodging raindrops, and well, it was great. First off, I want to say, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my channel and like and share if you would like to. That might help me out some. And let's see, what can I do? Let's see, what can we say first off? Okay, it was St. Patty's Day yesterday, so I think that's why we scheduled this field trip for secondhand fabrics. We're already in a green mood for St. Patrick's Day, and I like new fabric. I'm not even going to kid you. I like brand new starched fabric from the fabric store, from the quilting store. But there are so many fabrics that get put in quilters or sewists stash for years, and sometimes they just let go of really fine pieces of fabric to make room for new pieces. Sometimes you just have to clear things out. See, look at all of this. This is all fabric right here, and that's just a little of it. I mean, it adds up. In fact, I bought this. The first place we went to was an actual quilting store, and this store is closing. The people are retiring. So I bought one thing of fat quarters. I've taken one of them out already. And I think this was like $22, and I think I paid $7 for it. So, although it's new, I mean, I'm not against new. I like new. I'm going to try to buy mostly, secondhand fabrics. And this was some Wyndham Fabrics by Mary's Blenders. Look how pretty that is. So I'm hoping that these will maybe mix well with some of my older and more vintage fabrics. So I did buy this, and that's new. nice colors, right? Pardon me. I really did have to cough. A little gray, a little black. This beautiful, beautiful mustard. It's one of my faves, I have to say. Look at that pretty blue. Look at that. I mean, that's outstanding, right? Another black with gray, red, and the green. So, I mean, these will come in real handy. Or I'm going to tell you, there have been a couple of things that I've gone to with quilters where they ask you to drop fat quarters in a basket or something when you come in, and then you get a chance in the drawing, and whoever wins everything that's in the bucket. So, you know, I don't want to give secondhand fabrics. Those are my thing. It's kind of tacky to just say, hey, look, I just put in a fat quarter with Snoopy on it from 1975. That would not be looked upon well. So it's always nice to have some pretty fabrics like this, you know. So I did get these. That's the very first place we stopped. Like I said, the place is closing at the end of the month and everything was severely discounted. And then we went to Judy Walker's house. That's actually the first place we went. And Judy gave me some of these cuttings. I hope she gave them to me. I hope I didn't just take them. This was at the end of the day, and I was exhausted. I barely remember leaving her house. In fact, I left most of my things in the trunk of her car. I'm sure she's not pleased about that. But look at this. These were all cuttings from the fabric store that she works at. But I mean, who doesn't want to fussy cut that little baby? Look how precious he is. Yoga frog. I mean, come on. It says stretch a little, balance and harmony, calm, let go. So even the words, you know, this is some valuable fabric. And it's all the same thing, but it has a little, it's got, no, not a little, it has a lot of whimsy to it. And I'm going to do something real special with this. And this is going to have me thinking of Miss Judy Walker and her super cool self for a long time. And I'm going to tell you something else. She gifted me with something so special. I may not be able to cut this fabric up. I hear people say that over designer fabric all the time. They buy it and then they can't make anything out of it because they just love the fabric. I'm going to have to take a sip. It was a loud sip. Sorry about that. She gifted this fabric to me. When I touched it and I said, oh my God, my grandmother had drapes made out of this. She said, girl, everybody's grandmother had drapes made out of this. It's called bark fabric. I didn't know it had a name, but once you look close up, it really does. It resembles bark. You know, it has a texture to it. I think this must have been really popular in the 50s, I'm going to say. Y'all, somebody give me some comments of something that you think I could do with this that would not really, I just don't know if I can cut it up. I just don't know. Anyway, we also, thank you so much, Judy Walker. I love this fabric. Look, this piece too. Isn't it beautiful? We also looked at a quilt that she had purchased from one of her aunts. She said there was a time where her mom and her aunts were just blowing these out, just making them and selling them. And it's called Antique Rose. And the technique is raw edge applique. And it was stacks on a square, let's say a 10-inch square. And she had an 8-inch circle. The seam would have been an inch in from the edge. So it left a whole raw edge of an inch. And then a smaller one and a smaller one sewn on and a smaller one. The very last one being about 3 inches across. And it was fussy cut in the middle with a floral, something really pretty. The more you wash this quilt, the better it looks. So textured. So artsy. I have to make one. That is right up my alley. So it was called Antique Rose. And like I said, it was a raw edge applique. And it was just cutting big circles and sewing them on top of the layer of fabric that was already down. And it must make a nice heavy quilt too. I mean, really, just with all the layers of fabric sitting on it. Anyway, it was so beautiful. So I can't wait to do it with some of the newer fabrics I have. I just cannot wait. That'll be real fun. And all of this, I mean, look at how old this fabric is. There's not a thing wrong with this fabric. This fabric, its heyday is not over yet from my point of view. And I can't be the only one who feels this way. I just love it. So, I mean, we have an opportunity right now to really rethink how we use what we already have. I mean, trading it, or, I mean, if it doesn't work for you, give it to someone that really can honor it or bring it back to life again. Use our goods and our buying dollar in a different way. I'd like to say that a good thing to think about on a weekend, on a green weekend like the one we just had, is to buy, make, thrift, swap, borrow, and make use of what you already have before you use your buying dollar to buy more of what already might be, you know, in a little plastic box you have. Really, let's go through our stashes and look for things that might, you know, whose heyday needs to be hung up again. That didn't sound right, but, you know, it might be its second opportunity to come to life. And we really can do some wonderful things if we just think about it. Also this week, look what else I was given. Isn't this lovely? Look, I've been wanting a Martelli rotating mat. I still don't have one. I don't know if I'll ever get one. But it's a little bit of an investment. Not, you know, it's not outrageously expensive, but I mean, I have some cutting mats. I don't have to have a rotating one. But since a lot of what I do are in little scraps, here's a little, you know, this is a little piece that I probably am going to be using today. When I'm cutting on these little bitty mats, a lot of people, if you're cutting yardage, this is not going to help you. This is how I got given this, by someone who buys and cuts yardage. She brought this home and she went, you know, what am I going to use this for? It's much easier for me to just turn my big cutting mat. This was more trouble than it was worth for her. I mean, I don't know what my husband is doing outside, right outside the window. He's, whatever, making some noise. But for the little pieces that I use, this is perfect. So she gave me this really brand new little Fiskars mat. A member of my guild. We were on a committee together for an auction. And I bid on some fabric kits. I won 2 of them. They were both in the $25 range. That money goes to my personal guild. So that was a well-spent $50. And I got a pattern and all the fabrics that went with it. Hello? Win-win. What else can you say about that? When I was back to the Just Wanna Quilt, when I was on the field trip this past weekend, this was the best thing. It was at the very last stop we shopped in. I was just like, oh no, we're not gonna find much. I bought some really cool crafty maker things that I can use with my grandchildren, like looms for yarn, little plastic things that stick up, and you can make hats and scarves with them. So probably next summer we will start using those, but I'm gonna put them away for a minute. My oldest grandchild's only 5, and you know, there's a whole mathematician kind of thing that goes on, you know. You have to remember how many times you've looped, and you know, there's a lot to it. But in her preschool right now, when I looked at those, I was like, oh, maybe I can start this with Landry, because they're studying patterns. She's in preschool and they're studying patterns. So there you go. But at the very last place we stopped, we found this fabric. The company was called, it was called Peter Pan. I think this is from the 70s, we decided. I really need to look it up. But there's some really, it's lovely fabric. My cousin, when I posted it on Facebook, said, "Did you really save that Momo fabric?" Yes, yes I did, and it's not Momo fabric. And I told her I might make her a dress out of it. But this is almost enough. It's 4 yards, right at 4 yards. I think this is gonna make it's gonna make part of a back for me. A really subtle quilt top that might have a little bit of this creamy yellow in it. And the back side of it might be just a little bit of a surprise. We'll see. You never know where it'll turn up. Anyway, that's all we have time for today. Come back. Please come back. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, go to my YouTube channel, like,